and looks like we have a quorum, although waiting on Jim to come in, but he should be here shortly. So I'll just say we welcome everyone to the January 13th New Year's meeting of the Budget Committee. And you would just join me in prayer to get us started. Father, I just thank you for the opportunity to come with this group of people and serve. Father, we just thank you for all your blessings and all that you provide for us in the county. We ask a special blessing, Lord, on our friends at Hicks Pool as they suffered loss last week, and Johnny as he recovers. Father, we ask that you just watch over us as a county, watch over us in the things that we do, and give this group this morning the wisdom and discernment to do the business of the county. And all your glory and in your son's precious name, Lord. Amen. All right, thank you. Can we get a roll call just to be sure who's here? Thank you. Awesome.
Mayor Grandy?
Here.
Commissioner Malone?
Here.
Commissioner Williams? I'm sorry, Commissioner Wheeler. And Commissioner Light.
Commissioner Light. Hello?
Is Steve still on the phone with you?
Steve, are you still on the line?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So
We have
Steve
4 present and 1 vacancy.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. So the first order of business is to declare this as an essential meeting. So if you would please take a look at the agenda items that we have today and review them. And I submit to you that they are essential business of the county as they relate to the ongoing budget process and continued operation of Washington County. So are there any changes or additions?
I'll make a motion that we approve the agenda as presented and as an essential function of the government in fighting.
Thank you, Commissioner Malone. That's a proper motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Wheeler. Thank you, sir. Let's take a roll call on that, please.
Mayor Grandy?
Yes.
Commissioner Wheeler?
Yes.
Commissioner Malone?
Yes.
Commissioner Light?
Yes.
4 yes.
All right. So we have essential business and an agenda. First item of business is the approval of the minutes from December 3rd. Are there any additions or corrections?
Move to approve.
Thank you, Commissioner Wheeler. A motion to approve. And is there a second?
I will second the motion.
Thank you, Commissioner Malone. Roll call on that, please.
Mayor Grandy?
Yes.
Commissioner Wheeler?
Yes.
Commissioner Malone?
Yes.
Commissioner Light?
Yes.
4 yes.
All right. So we have approved minutes.
Hey,
Next.
Mayor, we are not currently live streaming, so if you would hold just 1 second, the videographer lost the feed.
Okay, great.
So
We
just,
will be on pause for a moment.
yeah, just for 1 moment.
Hey, Mayor, do you want the budget amendments up on the screen? Next item on the agenda.
The mayor approved ones. If everybody has a copy, we don't need them, I don't think.
Okay.
Susan, do you have the any of the slides from Alicia for the pilot, or is we going to share the screen with her?
Alicia will be able to share screen.
Okay, thank you.
Mayor, while we're waiting, is there documents that we're using in the meeting? Are they available to the public? I did not see anything on the calendar that,
Which ones, Jim?
well, for instance, the agenda itself and then the minutes and my understanding of and I think there's been discussion of this within the county that if you're using documents, they're supposed to be made available to the public at the time of the meeting. That's when Mitch asked that question about sharing those on the screen. I think that's one way to do that, but the packet itself, on the current new website, that I can't find at least where those packets are being made available to the public. And I was a little concerned about looking at those documents. Now, I may be wrong about that. Somebody on the staff can
Yeah,
share
Jim,
that.
I was able to download them yesterday,
Yeah,
or
they're
maybe
in-
day before. So I think they're on the website. Maybe you have to hunt for them, maybe. But
They're right there under government. If you look, Jim, it's the first item. It says agendas and minutes. And you click on that link and there are all the packets.
Perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Commissioners, and I'll share with you and Mr. Mayor that Commissioner Wheeler is correct that all of you as participants in the meeting must have the documents. And then the commission suggested that the county follow best practices of the comptroller's recommendations, which is that the public have those documents. Sherry Green has put a directive on the calendar. So Commissioner Wheeler, if you link into that, the website's a work in progress. And as I appreciate it, there will be a more robust page that will link everything together. That's outside my specifics. So Susan, feel free to correct me there. But for now, the public can go to the calendar, link into that, and that from there, they will be told how to live stream. There's a direct link to that. And then they're sent on to the agenda tab that will have all of that. And what I printed last night, like Commissioner Sloan, was several attachments, which I think are the mayor approved budget changes, but not the presentations. There are no documents for consideration as far as contracts or anything like that. I hope that helps a little bit in the public if you're watching.
It
We are
does.
back
Thank you.
live now, so we can continue on.
That
Jim,
does
did-
help. Thank you all for, and then we're miles further down the road than we were even a week ago. So I appreciate that. It was easy to find the live stream link and I just missed the packet, but I appreciate that.
Jim, do you feel like we're okay now? Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right, so we're going to continue the meeting, and just as a recap, thus far, we have approved the agenda. We have determined that the business of this committee is essential business for Washington County, and we have approved the minutes of December 3rd, Budget Committee. So the next item on the agenda are items that have been moved around in the budget that the mayor has approved. They don't require any action. They're here for information only. Are there any questions or comments on that? Okay. Next item, we have no amendments that require the budget committee's approval specifically, and so we'll move on to the fund balance projection. Mitch, do you have any commentary on that, or are there any questions?
I don't have anything specific other than I would point out that at the top of the schedule, since we completed the audit last month, I've updated the 6/30/2020 fund balance numbers to the audit numbers as compared to those. The first line will show you what we were using on the previous months this year. The next line shows you where we actually were audit wise. Some fund balances were down slightly, others like capital projects were up more significantly because certain projects just didn't get done. Those were rebudgeted in FY 21. 22, excuse, yeah, 21.
Okie dokie. Anything else?
Mayor, I will point out the second page of that is also important for you to look at, and that's in terms of the reserve balances, which some of those will change as we go through the year. And for example, if we budget something out of the reserve funds, we may see it showing up on the impact to the unassigned reserve. But to make that work, we've got to reduce that reserved and committed balance. So you'll see those changes listed on that second page as we make various, as we use the committed and restricted reserves as we go throughout the year.
Okay, good deal. Any questions there? Okey-dokey. And we'll move on to First Amendment requirement resolution, and this comes from CIA. It's consideration for economic funding for Appalachian RC&D Council. Is really came to CIA 2 months ago and came back to them. There is funding in our economic development line to cover the additional 2,500. I realize it says 5,000. We've already budgeted $2,500 specifically for the ag dinner, you may recall. So they've asked for that, and plus an additional $2,500 for RC&D Council activity that relates to agricultural needs in Washington County. And the CIA committee recommended that that be funded from economic development resources, because after all, agricultural business in Washington County is our #1 business. So that was their request. It's really for an additional $2,500 to be budgeted to be funded out of our economic development funds. Mitch, is that pretty well capture it?
It does. Yep. Account 58-190, other economic and community development, other charges, has some funds in there to the tune of about $10,000 that could be utilized for other initiatives that you may choose to do as we go through the year.
So if that is suitable with anybody, a motion to make that appropriation would be in order.
Move to approve.
Proper motion by Commissioner Wheeler. Thank you, sir. Is there a second?
I will second the motion with the question. I was trying to remember yesterday why we had deferred this last month. Were we looking for additional information, or I'm just trying to remember why we had deferred it?
RC&D initially requested it as an appropriation, and you recall last year we eliminated all appropriations, just in general. And the CIA committee felt like it was really more applicable to economic development, and that's where it should be funded.
Okay.
Are there additional questions or discussion?
Is this amount $2,500? 5,000?
The 2,500. Okay, we're asking. Yeah, specifically, this is for $2,500.
Okay.
The other $2,500 is already budgeted for the ag dinner, and I believe we've sent the money. So.
Okay.
All right. Are we clear on that? Then please call the roll.
Mayor Grandy,
Yes.
Commissioner Wheeler,
Yes.
Commissioner Malone,
Yes.
Commissioner Light.
Yes.
4 yes.
All right, thank you. That passes and moves on to the full commission. Next, we have a presentation on a pilot request, Project Mercury, from Alicia Summers. Alicia, are you home?
Larry Kate.
Join the meeting.
Alicia, are you with us?
Yeah, sorry. Apparently I'm new to Zoom. Thank you all for the opportunity this morning to give you some information on Project Mercury. Let me pull up the presentation. So I want to tell you a little bit about the company. It's an existing Washington County manufacturer. They have facilities located here in the US and worldwide. They currently employ 159 full-time. Their average wage is $23.40 an hour, and this will be their third expansion at their Washington County facility. And then a little bit about the project. It's competitive. They have other locations, as I mentioned, throughout the US with excess capacity. The project has the potential to create 25 new manufacturing positions over 5 years. Remember, we look at projections in both CapEx and wages in 5-year increments. Those 5 jobs combined with the existing 159 will have an average salary of $48,672 at the end of the 5-year ramp up. They plan to invest $12.3 million in capital investment, again, over 5 years. And this will help them expand their production capability and add new product lines. And a little about the project schedule. The new job creation, the 25 that I mentioned earlier, those will all take place in year 1. Capital investment that same year of $2.2 million. The following year, $1.1 million, followed by 2.9, 2.8, and 3.3 million over 5 years for a total of that 12.3 million. Again, that'll be made in machinery and equipment. A little bit about the economic impact. You know, we've talked before about direct, indirect, and induced effect of job creation, direct job creation. So just to remind everybody, the direct jobs are the ones that the company hires directly, so employed by the company. Indirect is jobs created in the construction side, you know, maybe the transportation of equipment, operational supplies, utilities, that type of thing. And then the induced effect is how much additional household spending, groceries, rent, home purchases as a result of those 25 direct employee hires. And we've run a 5-year economic impact analysis on this. So the direct jobs, again, 25, but the total with the induced and indirect jobs should be a total of about 48 new jobs with an increase in annual payroll of about $6 million. We've estimated also the sales tax revenue at little over $104,000. And again, they employ 159, and those folks have an average wage of $48,700. About the deal. So what we've proposed to the company is a 75% tax abatement for each annual amount of spending. So in year 1, the investment in machinery and equipment that comes on the tax roll, approximately $2.2 million, will receive a 3-year tax abatement at 75%. Year 4, it'll come back on the rolls. Same thing with the next consecutive years, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Same thing, each pocket of annual spending will get 3 years at 75%. And then also as part of the deal we've proposed is the company is responsible for 100% of the cost of documenting the incentive. And then we've talked about accountability before with the performance reports that are due annually. This one will be no different. They'll be required to file a report by January 31st. That will start next year in 2022. And that report will have the number of new jobs created, the number of jobs retained, and the average wage, and will be certified by a company officer. In the event of non-performance, well, let me back up. The company will be required to create 90% of those jobs, including the 159. So they'll have to create 165. In the event that they have non-performance, non-achievement, the pilot will end, and that will be adjusted in year 5. So what's the benefit to Washington County? It's the 159 jobs that will stay here and the 25 new. Again, and I know I've said this several times, average wage is 48,000, almost 48,700. Just to put that into perspective, the median household income is 33,227. That's a new number from MZ on their 4th quarter update. And the per capita income is 29,656. So it gets us above the household income, the median income, and that's one of our goals. And again, the new capital investment in the new product lines, and then the generation of new property tax, personal property tax revenue. And I'm happy to answer any questions you all might have about this project.
So this, I guess this information has been through and approved by our IDB and from also HEW, excuse me, I guess CIA had this one. So we will be taking this in the form of a resolution to the full commission. So I guess we would probably want to have a motion to pass this on in the form of resolution to the full commission.
I will make that motion.
Proper motion from Commissioner Malone. Thank you, sir. Is there a second?
Second.
I do have one question. Alicia, I know this is Project Mercury and we're not naming the company per se, but this company already has an existing pilot. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Where are they at in terms of the time frame of the existing pilot? How many years are left on that pilot?
Can I defer that to the county attorney?
You may. I'm going to pull up, by recollection, I believe that they are currently paying 80% on a real property pilot and 80% on on 2 aspects of a tangible personal property. So that tells me, and I can confirm this for you and all of the commissioners, but I did look that up when the IDB was considering it. So they are nearing the end of their current pilot. Does that help you with that, Commissioner Malone? I can get you more details. I don't want to hold the meeting up, but that's my recollection, that they are currently paying 80% of the applicable ad valorem.
So on those, they've probably only got 2 or 3 years left, approximately.
Yes, sir. They are definitely rounding that. That would be my estimation, and I certainly will pull it for you.
That's the only question I had.
Following up on that, they met their goals that they were achieved.
Yes, sir, Commissioner Wheeler. They have paid their taxes. I can speak as to last year for sure that they had paid them. They've received their bills from our trustee, Rick Story, which would be due February 28th. And there's not been a problem, in the past paying them when they received those notices. So yes, is the short answer. And they also will be reporting again on their annual compliance with their employment stats. And so those, as the most recent reports, they are in compliance.
Very good, thank you.
And Jim, my recollection on this particular company is they had an initial pilot, and then they had the pilot that we're in now was a qualified expansion of the facility that qualified for an additional pilot. So and that was an expansion of the facility as well as personal property, and so this one is just personal property, obviously. So somebody willing to make a second on this?
I did, or I meant to. Second.
I didn't hear it. My apologies. All right, so we have a motion and a proper second. Is there additional discussion? not, please call the roll.
Mayor Grandy,
Yes.
Commissioner Wheeler,
Yes.
Commissioner Malone,
Yes.
Commissioner Light,
Yes.
4 yes.
All right, thank you. Will that be in the form of resolution for the full commission in a couple of weeks?
Mr. Mayor, just if I may, and this is not necessarily on the agenda, but while we have Ms. Summers with us, I was just curious if either you or Ms. Summers had an update on Hexpol and that situation, the individual that was injured, but also the status of those jobs.
Well, I'll start. Alicia, you can fill in. We literally daily, I guess, we're working with those folks at Hexpol, the tragic total loss of their complex. And of course, there was a little over 100 employees. Alicia has done a great job. We went right away to the state to see how they may be able to help us. As you know, with all of the unemployment claims in the past 6 or 8 months, the system had gotten bogged down, but the state stepped right up and with a rapid response team and for just this type of thing. And they have been in contact with HR from Hexpol. We were on a call yesterday collectively with the state, the people from Hexpol, Alicia, myself. They are trying to figure out what to do next. This is devastating to them. It's the first time it's ever happened in their company's history. So they're reeling, just sort of like all the rest of us are. But one of the things that they made very clear, and I also talked to their CFO later yesterday afternoon, and he confirmed that their number one priority was caring for their employees, which was certainly our first concern as well. And they're trying to sort that out. They have a meeting scheduled with them this week to get everybody up to speed, to try to understand the needs and to tell them what their plan is moving forward. So also CFO is going to be engaged with meeting with a number of officials and so forth, and this week and next week, trying to sort out the details of their plant and what they do next about that production. So as of yesterday, that decision had not been made. So Alicia, what did I leave out of that mix?
I don't think you left out much. I would add this, though, that there has been a GoFundMe site set up for the individual that was burned in the fire. I think we looked at that yesterday. They had set it up so that they were trying to get $10,000, and it had been live for about, I don't know, I think a few hours, and they'd already raised $7,300. So I know that that man is in our thoughts and prayers. And like Joe, the mayor said, the company has expressed to us that their employees are their number one priority right now. So we should know more probably by the end of the week.
That's really all the information that we have at the moment. Is that helpful?
It is, thank you. The individual that in your opening prayer, did you reference his name as being Johnny? Is he what's his status?
His name's John Tipton, John Tinker, and he was actually up taking a few steps yesterday, I understand. So a long way to go. Surgeries, grafts, the things that surround first, second, and third degree burns, but he is at a specialty burn unit at Wake Forest and is, we believe, in the best care possible for now.
No, thank you for the update. And I would just offer, and I know that you, Mayor, and Alicia Summers as well, that you guys are on top of this, but this is a longtime employer for our community. And so I do think we need and want to rally around them and, whatever we may be able to do to help those employees, but then also to ensure that this business remains a part of our community. I'm certainly open to ideas about how we can make that happen.
Well, we're open to listening to any ideas you have. So we reached out to the state to see if there's anything that state economic development can do, and we'll be back talking with them again this afternoon just to try to present whatever update we can offer. It's very difficult, and to see the scene, it's very difficult. I think probably one of the good pieces of news for the community is that our teams were on it right away, and air monitoring and water monitoring processes were put in place immediately, and that's been ongoing. And there doesn't appear to be any significant environmental concern. Our friends that have livestock downstream that rely on that creek to water their livestock were contacted, and their needs, I think, have all been met with respect to issues that they may have been having. A lot of different components. I will say, and Commissioner Wheeler is on the call. I know that you're very familiar with this, how effective and efficient the Jonesboro Fire team was in being the incident command on that scene where the fire went on. I think it's probably still smoldering, but really with intensity for probably 36 hours, involving volunteer fire departments, other fire departments from the entire region. The Johnson City Fire Department was there just after Jonesboro, the night after the fire started, and was on scene for probably 18 hours and added a lot of capacity. But the incident command component and the handoff and in the lead and the coordination of all the events was a coordinated effort between Jonesboro Fire and our emergency management group. And once again, they really stepped up to do a great job and fought that scene for quite a while with no additional injuries. So it's really amazing to watch those folks at work. So Jim, thanks to Jonesboro. Spoke with Glenn and Chuck yesterday afternoon directly, just to tell them how much the community appreciates their great effort.
Thank you, Mayor. And I think it contributes to the whole county, the cooperation that was shown. Just can't go on enough about that. So thank you too.
All right. Where do we leave off? Do we have a roll call on that one?
We got that already. We're on to item 9.
Okay, good deal. Next item, for these items really are for discussion from HEW, funding of work keys testing. And I don't know who has that, if I do, or, they had, who is somebody on the committee on HEW? Would you like to speak to this, or do you want me to do it?
I'd be glad to. I don't remember the exact amount, but I do know that we were looking to set up a fund that would be available for paying for folks to take the work keys testing to help get us to a level where we can get a higher certification. This was to give an incentive for people to get prepared, take the test. And we're going to come back later and talk about the possibility of some sort of program in the jail to help with lowering our recidivism rates, but also to help those folks come out with certification to help them as well. But this initial would not necessarily be for that purpose. It would be to get general members of the public linked up with one of the services that gives the test and get that test paid for, so we can have the numbers having attained a certain level of achievement on the test so that we can get that higher certification.
Great report. I think if I recall, these tests are $75 a piece, and where a person doesn't have the funding to do that, this would support them being able to take the test at our job centers or wherever they go. Yeah, and so we do this in the high schools now. All three of the high schools in the county are involved in testing, and the fund supports that. So, but there is, according to Mitch, that we didn't spend all the money we had budgeted last year. We feel like that we can commit some money to this project outside of the high schools, and that's what this information is. Yeah, and we have that, it's already budgeted, so we just authorized some funding for it. I don't think this requires a motion.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, last year we had $10,000 budgeted for the First Tennessee Development District to do work keys testing within the three high schools. We spent right at they spent right at $6,700. So there was $3,300 that was unspent of that. I don't know if we'll have the same level of high school testing this year that we had last year. So there are, well, if, 3,300 divided by 75, that's how many tests you could probably do if we did the same level in the high schools.
When if I may, I had sat in on that workshop last week for workforce development, and I think the amount being discussed was about that amount of money, about 3,000 or 3,300, and it was to help cover the cost of that certification exam for those that couldn't afford it, with the goal being, as I recall, to get Washington County certified as a work-ready community. We're about 90 or 91% of the way there, but we need, and there's multiple facets, but we need more people to have taken the exam, achieved a certain score. It's not a pass-fail thing, but achieve a certain score. But then we also need employers to be signed up as a supporter of the work-ready initiative. So I'm supportive. I think the amount was about $3,300.
Do we want to move forward with a specific amount, just so that everybody's clear on that and they know what they have to work with?
Mr. Mayor, I can confirm for you that the request out of the special call HEW meeting was a request for funding up to $3,000 that would be available to fund testing of 40 individuals who had economic disadvantage, and that that would be through the development district, and that would be a reimbursement effectively. So the development district will manage all of the qualification process. And so we currently have out of HEW a resolution authorizing the spend. If the budget committee does not deem it appropriate to or necessary to allocate additional money, that is the way it's currently worded. Does that satisfy what you gentlemen are discussing?
Yeah, let's get a motion to go ahead and authorize the requested $3,000 and have it come from the budgeted money. And if we wind up needing more later, we'll just come back and look at it again.
Thank you.
I am supportive, so I will offer that as a motion to move it forward to the full commission.
Proper motion by Commissioner Malone. Thank you. Is there a second?
All right, couldn't get the mute on. I'll second that.
All right, and a second from Commissioner Wheeler. Thank you, sir. Any additional discussion? Please call the roll.
Mayor Grandy,
Yes.
Commissioner Wheeler,
Yes.
Commissioner Malone,
Yes.
Commissioner Light,
Yes.
4 yes.
All right, thank you. We'll have that go forward to the full commission. Next item is a discussion. I think Mitch will lead this one on some possibility of debt reduction. And this is really just for information at this time. We have a little bit of time to think about it, but as we think about beginning the budget process as, maybe an important issue to look at. Mitch?
Okay, you should have the information with you that you received last night. We currently have a little less than $152 million of debt outstanding. Most of that debt is not even callable until 2026. However, there's about 2,465,000 to be exact, that is actually callable July 15th of 2021. So I thought it would be prudent for you to be aware of that. Ran a quick analysis based on what we're earning on our current investments from the trustee, which on a weighted average basis is about 40 basis points, and calculated an interest savings over the roughly 3 years, 3 to 4 years that this debt would be outstanding if it were not called. And so we have an opportunity to essentially eliminate about $140,000 of interest over 3 years by making the call on this debt in July. You've got a schedule of our debt service reserve, which is the last page of the information. And so currently where our debt service reserve is, there would be funds available without impacting our reserve balance requirement. So just wanted to get that out in front of you before we started down the budget process to get you thinking about that a little bit and seeing what you want to do. We had talked to Raymond James maybe a year or so ago about doing this, but at the time they were looking at doing an advanced refunding or an in-substance defeasance because the bonds were not callable, but taking dollars out and sticking them in an escrow, the net present value of that was negative. So we didn't proceed with it there. And so what we're talking about doing is just a plain vanilla call of those outstanding bonds, not a defeasance.
No action required now. Are there any questions about what Mitch is saying? Okay, we'll consider this probably at a little later date. And if you do have any questions, feel free to chime in at your convenience. Next item here is just a reminder to this committee that we realize the ACE hardware lease extension is due this month, and we've had no indication from the election commission that what they would like to do one way or the other with it. So just didn't want to let it go by without at least acknowledging the fact that this lease will end at the end of the month if we don't do anything to change that.
Question, Mr. Mayor.
Sir?
I know you've sent a letter to them. Did the election commissioner ever respond to that letter asking for a plan?
No, sir.
Okay.
Not yet. Okay. Next item that may not be listed on there, but we just wanted to, we had our audit, the CAFR has been sent to us. You all have a copy of it, and I've had the chance to look at it, I think. And if you have any questions, thought that we would just do an overview of that for the commission at this month's meeting, just since it has been presented. The audit committee has met and asked their questions, and Commissioner Malone is on that audit committee. And if you have any comments you'd like to make, Commissioner Malone, you're welcome to at this time. Not so.
No, just we had expressed then, our thanks to Director Meredith and his team for the work they do, and as well to the comptroller for their work with the audit. Dick Ray serves on that committee, and he had several good questions. So we had a good meeting, but we have accepted it to move it along to the full commission for their review and acceptance.
Mitch, do you have any, thank you, Commissioner Malone. Do you have any highlights you'd like to just bring before the budget committee before we go to the commission with it?
Well, yeah, I guess I would, because, you know, obviously when we looked at the audit, when the audit committee looked at it, they did not look at it from a financial review standpoint. That is, what were the results of our operations? How did we do? That's really more your purview and the commission's. But I will point out that it was, again, an unqualified or clean opinion. We have had 5 years of receiving the GFOA, Government Financial Officer Association Certificate of Achievement of Excellence in Financial Reporting, which says, you know, in essence, that you are making the information that the professional standards require available to the public. From a fiscal standpoint, we did have year over year an increase, although some of them were slight, an increase in all of our governmental fund balances, with the exception of solid waste. And you'll recall when we were working on our budget last year, you know, recycling revenues are down. There is some pressure on our solid waste fund to stay in the black. It decreased about $115,000 last year. You can look on your fund balance projections to see where it is today. From the general fund standpoint, you know, variances to budget, we actually had a $1 million favorable variance overall, combination of revenues and expenses in the general fund last year. We issued no new debt, as you know, and we retired almost $8 million, $7.75 million worth of outstanding debt, which plus our total debt service was about $13 million. So there's $5.7 million of interest expense that we incurred last year. Something that you may not notice, and most people don't, because you really have to get down into the footnotes, but I would encourage you to go to page 98. It'll probably make your eyes glaze over, but that's the footnote that discusses our pension liability. And as you know, we participate in the Tennessee Consolidated Retirement Fund or system. We actually have a net pension asset of a little over $1.5 million. So in layman's terms, what that says is that our pension fund is well managed. A lot of states are extremely upside down on the pension obligations and funding. Fortunately, Tennessee is not one of those. We completed almost $30 million of construction projects last year. Of course, the school being the biggest one in July of the last fiscal year. I will touch on the audit did have 6 audit findings in it, 3 of which were in the over in the schools, 2 were in the mayor's office. We had 1 in the clerk's office. And I will say that none of them were repeat findings. None of them impacted our federal awards, which could require a repayment of federal grant money. And that we have prepared corrective action plans, and for most of them, they have all been completed, if not all of them. So hopefully we won't see these again next year. And with that, Mr. Mayor, I would entertain any questions that anyone might have.
We get another opportunity in a couple of weeks. It's one of the things that in talking about funds, the pension fund is one that's particular highlight. Another one though is our self-insurance fund that we talked about in the past, but that's another fund that we were able to continue to grow and to, as you recall, not have, I think we had a little actually a little decrease again in our insurance premiums for our employees. So that is another well-managed fund. And I think just, and maybe this will come out in employee benefits, but just listen to their report. Our clinic continues to operate at a very high performing level. It's the most utilized clinic in the Care Here sector of all those that they Care Here manages. It's the most utilized, and I want to say that 98% of our employees have utilized the clinic in the past year at one time or another. So, really good news there as well. So, again, one more chance. Anybody have a question on the CAFRA or the general financials from last year? Okay. That brings us to December financials. They have been distributed to you. So we're at mid-year, and we're going through those and evaluating, how we look halfway through our year. It seems generally things look pretty good, but does anyone have any questions on those or comments? Okay, last on the list is our sales tax update report. Again, that's in the packet, and you have that. We are, again, this month up from last year, and this month $123,000 to the good, 9.6% increase over last year. So our sales tax revenues continue to be strong, and obviously that helps our schools. So any questions on sales tax from the committee? Are there any additional things that anyone needs to offer as we get to the end of our agenda? Hearing none, thank you very much for your time and your energy this morning. And with that, we are adjourned. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thanks. Have a good day.